If you've been a reseller of one-off items for a while, you've probably noticed that every single sale that you make creates a replacement problem. If it sells, you'll need to replace it. If it doesn't sell, you'll need something else. You're constantly picking up more items to make more sales, but not capitalizing on your wins. If you want to build something that could grow beyond constantly hunting for the next item and the next item while making new listing after new listing, you'll need products that you can replenish. But just knowing this concept isn't enough. How do we acquire them? Now, the obvious answer is to order them from overseas, but you can't just hop on sites like Alibaba.com to go find a product you've never sold before, order it in bulk, and then hope you've made the right decision. That's not smart business. That's just gambling with your money. This is why most resellers stay in the lane that they already understand: thrifting, liquidation, storage lockers, and other one-time opportunities. But when that inventory is gone, the opportunity is gone with it. So what if you could discover a product, test it in a real market, and gather enough evidence to know whether it's worth pursuing before committing to a serious purchase? That's what this video is all about. My name is Mason T, and I am a 20+ year importer and product developer. I'm going to show you how to start building a catalog of replenishable products, how to find them, test them, and acquire them without making a blind bet on inventory. This, my friends, is the roadmap. For the longest time, trade and commerce started with marketplaces and then convention centers, exhibitions, shows, and summits. You had to travel, you had to attend to be part of the action. It's how buyers sourced and vendors made contacts. In 2026, we can source from online marketplaces now, which significantly cuts back on the resources, the time, the travel, the booking expenses. We could do this from anywhere in the country, in our homes, at any time of day, giving us the greatest flexibility ever known. It's through this modern convenience that I've created the best strategy in tangible e-commerce today. I call it the Pegasus pipeline. It's a micro vetting system. We start with sites like Temu. And before you cringe and stop, Temu is different now. Temu was launched in US September of 2022, and I would agree with you. At the time, it was a landfill, a vast catalog of the cheapest and lowest quality items that were all priced to the bottom. All things that you would find at a dollar store: hair combs, basic stationaries, plastic slippers, the kind that you take the trash out with. Now, in the 80s and early 90s, I'd be in full agreement with you. China indeed produced a lot of low-end products. But fast forward to today, China's production standards are now you get what you pay for standards. Anyone who says otherwise is probably clueless to where iPhones have been coming from for the past 2 decades. So why now? Why start looking at Temu now? Because Temu has essentially become a real-time catalog of what Chinese manufacturers are producing every day right now. So Temu has certainly stepped up its game in product selection since then. And I would even say that up until 2025, most of its catalog was still very mixed between medium to low-end goods. However, it's this year in 2026, the catalog has truly stepped up its game. It's impressive now. There is a whole bunch of nifty items to choose from. Now, here is the industry secret. Over 90% of the items that you find on Temu can later be sourced directly straight from Alibaba. So sites like Temu act as our product discovery engine, but we still need a marketplace in order to test the waters. Now, some people are going to think, great, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it on Amazon. But immediately, if you've tried that before, you know that Amazon's barrier to entry for new sellers is incredibly high. Immediate brand registry requirements and a high initial ad spend makes it a brutal place to test a raw idea. So we don't start there. We use a different stomping ground: eBay, the one that you already know. Does eBay have the same volume as Amazon does? No, of course not. But eBay still has about 1/10 of the market share that Amazon does, and 1/10 of a massive global pie is still a large market. It's still big enough to give us meaningful data, impressions, clicks, and actual sales. So here's the logic. If you take a completely unvalidated item straight over to Amazon, you might get some sales. But if you can successfully sell that same item a couple of times on eBay first, a platform that only has a fraction of the traffic, then you will have significantly increased the odds that it will sell on a larger platform. Far more certainty than had you not tested it on a smaller platform. That is the play. We source small quantities from Temu first, and then we arbitrage them over to eBay. We're not trying to get rich off of eBay sales here. This is strictly for validation. Once we have some confirmation of value, we could upgrade our supplier to Alibaba. That way we could scale the inventory to then lower the cost of goods. And then we pivot the product to its final home, Amazon, which should translate to better volume and sometimes even higher ASP. This repositions us into a place of far better sales at greater profits. As you can see on the diagram, arbitrage sales is validation, but pipeline sales is the destination. So if you're tired of running a hustle where you can only get out of it what you put in, this video will teach you the most cost-effective way to build a catalog of products that continue generating returns long after you've put in the initial groundwork. To get started, you're going to need a couple of Chrome plugins first, Alibaba Lens, Jungle Scout, and Chpt. Then head over to Temu.com and start browsing. Browse Temu for anything, really, any category, and just start adding stuff to your cart. Add, because adding stuff to cart is free. You're looking for anything that gives you pause, really, because if it's something that you would purchase, then others might feel the same as well. Just use your best judgment for now, and then find a quiet time later to come back for research and vetting. For now, just add to cart. You'll change your mental criteria over time. You'll develop a keen eye with practice and experience. So for now, don't overthink it. Let's return to your cart to carefully analyze each item one by one on a case-by-case basis. Can you see yourself handling the sale and management of this item from start to finish? Because are there foreseeable issues or red flags, possible compliance issues? If so, discard and move on. Do this for every item in your cart. There's no sense in trying something we don't really want to deal with. Now we're going to research this item over on eBay. Are there many sellers right now? Are they serious competitors? Are they all based in the US? What is the estimated market price? How are the top sellers doing right now? And then we use the eBay profit calculator to help you project profitability. Over time, you're going to get better at this and feeling out the market. You're simply looking for a general opportunity and market pricing. Okay, now we're going to go back to Temu and apply the Alibaba Lens tool to research factory prices. We might make some initial profits arbitraging from Temu over to eBay, but the real money is in the future margins if we upgrade our supplier to a vendor from Alibaba. So we're just checking for future healthy margins and what the MOQ is from most factories. We then record all of this as relevant data into a spreadsheet. You should have a couple of columns in your spreadsheet, such as your Temu cost of goods, the target asking price, what your future cost of goods is with the inland freight, and what your lowest acceptable selling price is. Ultimately, our objective isn't to perfectly predict future sales. It's to determine whether the market is worth pursuing further. Jungle Scout can certainly make this easier, but it isn't really required. For now, it's just a tool to help calculate the Amazon seller fees. So ask yourself a couple of key questions first. Does the first page look overcrowded to you? Is the average selling price still attractive? Do several sellers appear to be making sales? Are there obvious opportunities to improve the offer here? Overall, if you're getting positive vibes, then move forward. Then we use Chpt to confirm a couple of the following: stable prices, healthy sales activity, and reasonable listing age. Remember, the micro vetting system is not trying to fully eliminate uncertainty. It's trying to reduce it enough to justify the next step. And lastly, my recommendation is to build a short list of future competitors that's already on Amazon. You want to study their setup, the photos, pricing, bullet points. You're trying to understand their execution so that you have a feasible starting plan by the time you're ready to join the party. Over time, you will figure out better settings of your own, but until then, do what they did. After the product discovery phase, this is the portion where we want to pull the trigger on all of our prospect items and not allow analysis paralysis to get in the way. The idea is to try a minimum of 5 different items per week so that the probability of finding a viable product in the near future will begin to land in your favor. You'll want to acquire at least 3 copies of the items that you scouted and vetted, because selling anything once could have just been a fluke, a coincidence. A customer came around the corner just after you listed it. But when we sell it twice, unlikely to just be a coincidence. But selling something 3 times within a reasonable time frame suggests real demand. Now, at this point, I'm going to leave the testing phase flowchart on screen for a few seconds. You'll want to pause the video here or take a screenshot of your own. At the end of each testing cycle, we want to advance the winners and retire the losers. So while researching does increase your probability, no amount of it can guarantee success. The better approach is to try to get answers as cheaply as possible, because you only know something works for sure after you try it. Here is the main issue with sourcing. Our country has outsourced the production of affordable everyday products in just about every category imaginable to overseas lands. So if there were still many local options, we would be talking about that. But simply put, there just isn't. So local wholesalers isn't really a great path either, because where do you suppose the wholesaler gets their supply from? So therefore, in order to get the best prices, there's only a few choices out there. Now, liquidation is still one way of people getting reasonable margins, but the problem is you can't build an evergreen listing on top of limited inventory. So when it comes to the path of importing, I offer 3 paths forward. The first option is to work directly with the factory. Anybody could get on Alibaba and just start speaking to them directly. This gives you the most control. However, you have to make your own deals. The upside here is independence, but the downside is that now you're sitting across the table from people whose incentives aren't necessarily aligned with yours. You see, their job is to manufacture and sell products, but your job is to build a profitable business, and those two aren't the same conversation. The second option is the one that I recommend for most people, is to work with a sourcing agent. A good sourcing agent becomes your representative on the ground. They communicate with the factories, negotiate pricing, coordinate the production, and inspect the quality. Sometimes they even consolidate the shipments for you if you're ordering from multiple factories. And generally, they're making importing much less intimidating. The incentives are healthier because they're working on your behalf. The catch is that most sourcing agents are exactly just that. They'll help you buy the product, but the buck usually just stops there. They're usually not concerned with your growth. Now, the third option would be my services over at PegasusBlueprint.com. This isn't just sourcing now, it's brokerage and guidance. My father has never operated without an agent, and neither have I until I eventually became my own. What I do isn't just connect buyers and suppliers, it's also to help you make better commercial decisions. I'm invested in helping you build something that actually grows. The more successful my clients become, the more business they'll return to me. So I handle each case with your best interest in mind, because our incentives are totally aligned. Now, let's get to the part where everyone cares about the most. How does the pricing work? How much extra is this going to cost me? Well, a good sourcing agent is often able to get you prices similar or slightly lower than you could even negotiate yourself, yet their commissions are baked right into the sale. So if you're paying the same price or less, then it becomes a no-brainer to implement the services of an agent. Therefore, the question isn't even really about price anymore, but rather who should have the burden of purchasing management. At the end of the day, all 3 choices can get you inventory. The difference is how much of the journey you're managing yourself and how much guidance would you like along the way. Average e-commerce models require you to be mostly right. In common forms of reselling, what you spent on a 30-piece thrift haul, you'll need to sell a substantial portion of that inventory just to recover the capital that you put in. But the Pegasus pipeline is designed so that you don't have to be right that often. See, each product test costs very little, so failure becomes very inexpensive. If you tried 5 products per week for 1 whole year, you would have tested 260 products. Now, even if only 5% of that become long-term winners, that's 13 evergreen pipelines working for you and generating recurring monthly revenue. Now you have assets that will earn for you. So the mission isn't finding one perfect product. It's performing enough inexpensive experiments until probability eventually works in your favor, while the occasional winner has the opportunity of becoming something much bigger than the original test. You don't need every product to work. You need a process that gives you enough opportunities to find the ones that do. The real advantage of replenishable inventory is this: your wins don't have to end when the inventory does. So if you're ready to start building that kind of a catalog, give the Pegasus pipeline a shot. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.